Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are getting up and feeling well out there this morning and having a great start to your day. Great start to your work week as we make our way on through it. As always, I got you a morning update on what's going to happen specifically for today. Another pretty quiet weather day, but we'll talk about it regardless. And then towards the end of the video, I guess you would say the second half of the video, we'll talk about what it looks like going forward as we get a little bit deeper into the work week, as I'm expecting an uptick in severe weather Thursday into Friday, maybe even for Saturday. But I think Friday is a day to watch. Am I thinking it's going to be a severe weather outbreak? As of now, no, but this could uptrend. But we'll talk a little bit about it in this video, but then tonight we'll dig a little bit deeper into it. So stay tuned for that. I do have soccer practice tonight, so the video will come out probably a little bit later than some of the evening videos normally do, but I'll definitely get you some good information. And then, of course, as we work our way into these short-range models, we can get even more detail with you guys as we always do. So, with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It definitely helps during these slower times. And we'll continue to keep you guys updated. The two-a-days will get kick-started back today, unless, barring anything that may happen that, that's beyond my control. But we will get the ball rolling with these two-a-days again until, we just enter a very slow period where there's just nothing to really discuss twice a day. So with that being said, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can do it. So I can do that. I can pray over it. And I promise you other folks will pray over it also. So let's get rolling this morning. So it's still that interesting look out there this morning and today, and probably into tomorrow also. You got a big ridge building, and we're going to wake up this thing over here. You got a tall ridge building into this region right here. If you look, the jet jolts all the way up here into Canada. Then it kind of buckles way down here and kind of scoots off out into the Gulf, and then to the Atlantic. So basically, there's a little spin right into here. This is a little low, and it's going to be a non-tropical low. A lot of people, even I've said it, a subtropical low, a tropical low, but this is going to be a non-tropical low. And the reason is because if we back this up, this little low is that's a terrible L, is going to kind of drift a little bit further, maybe into this region right into here. But it's not going to fully, if it does, it's not going to be for a long period of time, but it's not going to really fully emerge for a long period of time over the Gulf of Mexico. So it doesn't really have any time to really gain any tropical characteristics, if it even would. It would need to probably be over the Gulf of Mexico for maybe 2 to 3 days, and it's definitely not going to do that. But eventually, this little spin right here will eventually kind of move into areas of the southeast. Where exactly will it move? It's always hard to gauge these because cutoff lows are just kind of lost in the mix, so they're being carried very slowly, and they kind of meander. They can cause all kinds of weather. They can cause sometimes some snow. They can bring severe weather. They can bring flooding. They can bring all kinds of things. So this will actually spark a severe weather threat for probably Thursday here in the next 2 days, probably for this area, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the video. But there is a marginal risk already for day 3, which is for our Thursday. But certainly an interesting dip in the jet, as you definitely have this big-time ridge of high pressure that will continue to scoot eastward and bring some really warm temperatures into the northeast Thursday into Friday. So that's kind of what's going on, the gist of it. A little buckle in the pattern out there, a little bending and bobbing and weaving out there, if you will. Red flag warnings up for the middle of the country where it's just dry, windy. So definitely don't start any fires out here by any means. Same thing for southern New England. It's pretty dry here. So definitely just, don't try to start any fires, burn anything like that. But outside of that, still pretty quiet. Some wind alerts up here, high wind warnings, so wind advisories in Montana. But outside of that, just still kind of quiet out there. It's kind of eerily quiet. I always struggle with that word, but just kind of quiet. It's just not a whole lot going on. So we look at the southeast today. Really, the only active weather I would say is the southern areas of Louisiana and then southern South Florida, as this spin really tries to get all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. You notice you got storms moving this way and then storms moving back that way. That really tells us that there's a little bit of a spin to the atmosphere down here. So, some of these showers as we get into this afternoon will continue to get pulled back into southern sections of Louisiana. This will bring scattered tropical in nature downpours into southern and southeast sections of the state of Louisiana. Some areas could get maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain, and the far areas, I mean, hugging the coastal regions of Louisiana. So, it's going to be definitely, there's chances that maybe New Orleans, Baton Rouge don't see much rain at all. But if you go, about an hour south of the city, it's going to be wet, very, very damp down there. And then same thing down here for my folks in Florida. You got to be all the way in the southern tip of Florida. Key West, you could definitely get a lot of shower and storm activity down here. Nothing really in the way of crazy severe weather by any means, but just scattered tropical downpours where it'll just rain very heavily suddenly, and then it'll stop very suddenly. And then this will continue. We're waking up Wednesday morning. You got plumes of heavy moisture surging in the southeast Louisiana, eventually making their way maybe all the way up into southern areas of Mississippi. But I definitely don't think it'll be another wet day tomorrow for Louisiana and southern areas of Florida and South Louisiana. Really, nothing really going on in northern Louisiana as of right now. But a little bit closer look at how much rain could fall here between now and the next 24 hours in South Florida. Miami could get an inch of rain today, but you go a little bit further south of Miami, maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain. Okay. But if you go up here in the central Florida, not a whole lot expected. Maybe some showers wrap all the way up. Maybe some thunderstorms could develop here on the East Coast, northern East Coast regions of Florida. But, not a lot expected up here in this region. But Louisiana, southern sections of the state, once you get way down here in the SWAT regions, like near the bayou, things like that, Thibodeau, places like that, Houma. The only reason I know those cities off the top of my head is because I chased Hurricane Ida a couple of years ago. So, but you guys could see an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches of rain just between now and the next 24 hours. That doesn't count how much rain will fall after tomorrow morning. But a little bit of rain showers could make it a little bit further west too in the western sections, the southwest sections of Louisiana. You go a little bit further, and in the rest of the southeast, by the way, nothing really expected. The northeast, very, very quiet weather day. Some showers might blast through northern Maine, might make it all the way into northern sections of New Hampshire, but some shower activity in far northern Maine. This will be in the form of rain. No snow expected. After that, maybe some additional showers making it into northern sections of New York State. So you might wake up to some damp conditions in the northern half of the state of New York. Outside of that, quiet. Nothing going on. South central U.S., after we dealt with some of those severe storms in areas of Oklahoma, yesterday we had some big-time hailstorms. Where, you had like golf ball. I think somebody reported baseball-size hail, but I think there was definitely a lot of golf ball reported size hail out here. So nothing like that today. Those were very isolated, and we talked about that yesterday morning in yesterday morning's video. But quiet day, but like I said, be wary of what may happen as we get into the later part of this week, where we could have an increased severe weather threat. But between now and the next 24 hours, quiet weather. The only area that could see action, like I said, is Louisiana, and then far, far southeast sections of Texas, maybe just northeast of Houston, could see some scattered downpours, isolated downpours more so. North central U.S., quiet day. Nothing to really speak on. I thought about just making this video shorter and not really mention it, but I always like to show everybody love out here. I have a lot of people who view, and I really appreciate y'all, but quiet, beautiful weather, very warm weather. And speaking of warm weather, temperatures, insane. It might hit 90 degrees in South Dakota today. Southern sections of South Dakota. And you're still hanging on to, I believe this is some snowpack up here. Incredible gradient. I'm gonna be watching temperatures today in North and South Dakota. But it's pretty wild how the snowpack up here is really keeping the surface temperatures low. When you look at a sounding right here, just about an hour and a half north of this 90-degree reading, and it really tells you how warm the temperatures are aloft. You got 45 degrees at the surface, and I'm gonna do something on the fly here. Let's see. because I just want to try to be more exact with you guys. And because I don't pretend to have all the Celsius to Fahrenheit temperatures memorized, but you got 75, 80-degree temperatures several hundred to maybe 1,000 feet up in the atmosphere. So at the surface where you're standing here in this little sounding that I got right here in kind of central, north central sections of South Dakota, it's 45 degrees at the surface. Where you're standing, it's cold. But you get in a hot air balloon, and you go about 1,000 feet up in the air, it's almost 80 degrees. That just tells you how wild it is that the snow is really influencing the temperatures at the surface. So, but man, it's going to get warm. Widespread 80s all the way up into western sections of North Dakota. Pretty wild stuff. Very, very warm into Montana also. But a typical kind of spring conditions, a very warm day for everybody. The Northeast, it'll be nice. It'll get all the way into the 50s in northern Maine. Down east areas and southern areas of Maine will get into the 60s, maybe some low 70s. And everybody else, 70s to near 80 degrees. So beautiful spring day. You'll hang on to some mugginess in far southern sections of Florida and probably southeast sections of Louisiana. But outside of that, beautiful, beautiful spring-like day. So going forward here, this ridge, the warmer colors you see on your screen, the reds, the oranges, that is a ridge of high pressure, okay? This is low pressure. So blues you see is normally troughing or some type of low pressure. In this case, you got a low pressure down here in the Gulf. Not expecting any tropical development, but this high pressure starts to really dominate over the Great Lakes region, and it's already influencing areas of the Northeast. So very warm temperatures expected in the Great Lakes region tomorrow. Any kind of snowpack that you have lingering around, it's going to melt rapidly, if it already hasn't, over the next couple of days. And then this ridge will eventually move over the Northeast. Okay, and the only thing that's really keeping you guys cooler down in the south compared to the north is just probably some cloud cover, some rain, and just this low pressure in general. But you look at temperatures in the Northeast, this is for tomorrow. You're already getting close to 80 degrees in New York City, getting into upper 60s, low 70s for highs in Boston. Southern tier of New York State, 70s, Binghamton, 70s. Somebody might hit 80 degrees. Washington, D.C., well into the 80s. Delmarva, 70s and 80s. But you get into Thursday, guys, Boston might hit 80 degrees. The only thing that might save you is the cooler temperatures off the ocean. But New York City, if you're about like 30 miles inland, widespread 80s expected. Spring fever is going to kick in, and it's going to be downright warm in the Delmarva, the Mid-Atlantic, up into the Northeast. I mean, it's going to get into the 70s all the way into Maine. You're going to have definitely some big-time snow melts in these higher elevations where you still got snowpack. And then you get into Friday, even warmer into Friday, okay? Boston certainly into the low 80s. Somebody might try to hit 90 degrees in southern New England. But very warm temperatures expected. So, prepare. And, you look at more of a broad look here. For example, it's cooler in the Carolinas than it is in the Northeast. And that's just because of showers and rain expected Friday for the Southeast. But speaking of those showers and storms, day 3, the severe weather risk. Right now, there is a marginal risk of severe weather. I could see this uptrending to a slight. These cutoff lows are tricky. They can bring all kinds of their own ingredients, if you will. But right now, you got a marginal risk. It's a level 1 out of 5 for day 3, and this is for Thursday, the 13th, into the morning of the 14th. So, I expect a little bit of a 2% risk of a tornado to be introduced with this damaging wind threat. But we'll watch them. There definitely will be a hail threat. Normally with cutoff lows, they bring their own kind of cool air, upper level lows. But we'll certainly watch this feature Friday. I think there's going to be widely scattered showers and thunderstorms across the Southeast Friday. Another wet Friday across areas of the Southeast. The next storyline is going to be low pressure. We're getting into Thursday. Low pressure kind of meanders, and here it goes. It begins to eject right here. 991 millibar low pressure based off the latest GFS. Getting into Friday, it's pretty far north. We're getting into Friday morning. It begins to kind of dig, trying to figure out what it's going to do. Gets over Kansas, and then this is really starts to pick up some forward progress. And as it does, it begins to quickly eject Friday evening into Friday night across, areas of the Midwest, Northern Plains, and then over Minnesota might bring some some snow for areas of the north central U.S. But in general, this is a look of a severe weather threat. So it brings in immediately some warm, moist Gulf moisture begins to build into the southern plains. And with this, you introduce the initiation for some thunderstorms, the initiation for some CAPE, some storm fuel in this area, and then you'll probably have a little bit of that low-level jet that comes with any kind of ejecting low pressure, favorable winds aloft, and we have to watch this region, certainly need to watch this region right into here. And certainly when you look at the Storm Prediction Center, that's about the region where it watches, just south, southeast, and east of the low pressure, which will probably be somewhere right into here before ejecting northeast. Okay, so we watch this area. There's a 15% risk. That is a slight risk at day 4 of severe weather occurring. Severe weather meaning anything: hail, tornadoes, and damaging winds. So we need to watch this. There's now that 15% risk up for this event for Friday. So we certainly need to watch this. They're already honing in on it. And, one ingredient we'll look at is for Friday, what kind of moisture do we have in response to this low pressure? Well, I can tell you, and remember, dew points is that thermodynamic that we talk about. We get into Friday late afternoon, evening, dew points into the 50s and 60s. I expect us to uptrend. But once you get into Oklahoma, you got dew points well into the 60s, Oklahoma City, Tulsa. But you got that dry line, that boundary right here. We got to figure out a little bit more about this before we get super detailed. But you can tell with the ejecting low pressure, you have that moisture return, dew points well into the 50s and 60s, and you will have a little bit of CAPE to the atmosphere. So we'll get more deeper into these ingredients tonight. We'll figure this out for you folks. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you this evening.